Welcome, everyone. We are live on Facebook, Rumble, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Telegram. This is Campaign for America, episode 39. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We have a new call-in line, and if you would like to ask Dennis some questions, or myself, or even make a comment on any of the topics that we've discussed there in the show, feel free to do so. That call-in line is 702-482-8620. With that being said, let me play the intro, and then we can let you do some housekeeping, Dennis.
In 1980, Ronald Reagan wore a white suit, a red tie, and a white shirt and addressed the nation. Hi, I am Dennis Andrew Ball, and I am running for President of the United States. I am talking to you right now because the debates that were conducted this week need to have a presidential response. The economic issues that both Barack Obama and Mitt Romney answered created in the minds of many of us unanswered questions of how do you sustain economic growth in the United States of America. In light of the decisions and the events that have happened since 2008, what do we need to do to reduce the deficit, increase job creation, maintain Social Security and Medicare, and provide the opportunity for our children and future generations not only to survive, but to thrive in a global economy. I would like to talk to you quickly on how I perceive what needs to happen. The United States of America at this time is suffering because the means of production have not equaled the ends of production that it requires in order to sustain its middle class. The United States of America must reindustrialize itself to make it possible that 23 million Americans can go back to work in industries that are productive for themselves and their families. What we are witnessing on a daily basis is the demise of the American family, the traditional American family, of children, parents, and grandparents, by people in authority who have used, abused, and misused their positions to hurt our people. This must stop, and it will under my administration. The need at this moment of time is to get our organs of power in business to invest in research and development to make it possible for industry to not only survive in America, but also to thrive. My attitude is that the production capability of the United States is equal to none. Our workers are very productive if given the opportunity, but they must be protected by government that concerns themselves with their best interests. And that has been a problem for many years in this country. My attitude also is that in order for our people to get themselves in a position to care for themselves and their children, we have to evaluate at this moment in time what is important for that to happen. And I believe that it will be more of a decision on the part of the American people when they go to the voting booth to decide who they think is best qualified to do that job. I believe also that we are in a position to make decisions that will impact the course of history and to bring about positive change in the lives of our family structure. I want to say that in order to do that, the means of production will have to be a top priority to reindustrialize the middle class and to provide the support for the future generations. I want to say this, that in terms of how we go about this business, the President of the United States should be very aware of what has happened and what needs to happen. My interest at this time is to educate through my administration of candidacy for presidency to make it possible for you to learn more about me and to decide if you are better off since the election of Barack Obama and the changes that need to happen in terms of the increase in gas prices and food prices, the mortgage forfeitures that have happened since him, and also what we will do in the future to make it possible for more people to be employed out of 23 million who are not. Consider this opportunity to communicate to your friends and your neighbors my thoughts, and I look forward to hearing from you. I need presidential electors who will vote for me through the Electoral College when I win the states in this country to become your next president. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Okay, Stephen, very good. This is an important show today. We have guests that we are notifying to appear, plus we have a call-in line that you have perfected at 702-482-8620. And I am very pleased that I could be here. I'm actually calling you and talking from a location here in Orlando. And I'm wondering, I'm seeing something on the screen, Stephen. It looks like a signal.
My virtual cameras have an issue. I'm trying to get it working through OBS, but give me 1 second here. I just got to switch it out.
I'm not sure what we're looking at here.
It's the OBS virtual cam plugin. I'm trying to get it working. It's not functioning on OBS properly.
Did you say a split screen? I'm sorry. What are you talking about?
No, it's the camera, the virtual camera on OBS Studio that lets me do the overlays and stuff. I got to restart it so I can get it working. Just give me 1 second. Go ahead and continue doing
All right.
while I do that.
Very good. We may need to edit this a little bit.
We will.
A nice smooth operation. Thank you. Okay, anyway, we are busy right now with a lot of things. I have been here in Orlando, Florida since July, actually since the 4th of July, toward the end of June into the 4th of July, and have continued on this path. I am pleased to announce that It is only a matter of time when we will actually be able to hold these rallies here. There's a lot going on behind the scene. The people are needing and wanting something different. The campaign managers that we have in several states, we want them to participate now in the next show for sure. That's on the 19th, because we're going to talk about the growth of the AOA. We're going to talk about the campaign and continuing to make or history being made. I intend to, as I've said, I'm all ready to go to New York next month. In the meantime, I have found a way to communicate here in Florida on several different cities with regard to aviation services. So we have shelter to hold our rallies. Here, the weather here can change on a dime. And, it can cause some problems if we didn't have shelter. So, but the airline hangars really are the key for us. And that's what I'm engaged in, have been for some time. It's been kind of a pilgrimage of sorts, but that's okay, because I have found so many different opportunities to communicate with people that I need to, and I'm getting results, and that's what's important. It's only a matter of time. Everything comes together properly, but it all begins with a start, and that start began 10 years ago for me, and it continues. Our Florida state campaign manager, Pam Sullivan, we talk regularly, and we come to the conclusion that we need to proceed with the state campaign managers in every state. This coming Sunday, that would be the 17th, I expect to be in St. Petersburg, Florida, to meet several different people. And this is important because this now is getting the message further. It's expanding with other people. Very important. Other people are learning of the campaign. As that continues to grow, then other things will continue to grow with it, particularly as we make progress with the different airline aviation services and the media. And the media being that what they are, they're looking for events. And so if we have a good event, the media will be there. And if they aren't there, we will create an event and give it to them. And that's how this is growing. And so for that, I'm blessed. In the meantime, we are going to begin the process of getting meetings started in the Central Florida corridor. That's important. That should happen soon. I'm going to be leaving Orlando this weekend, and I'll be into Western Florida and then into Central Florida. And then from there, we will continue to make history in progress and moving it forward. Also, I have forwarded several books of mine to people in California and in Arizona, particularly Congressman David Schweikert. David Schweikert is in District 2, I believe, or possibly District 6 in Phoenix, Arizona. David is the only congressman in the Congress who is worried about the national debt. I am concerned myself, and I wrote a book about it called The Fair Deal, canceling out the national debt and restoring fiscal accountability. That's very important, because what President Kennedy did on June 4th, 1963 was basically transfer the currency out of the Federal Reserve to the U.S. Treasury where it belongs, backed by silver, so that there was some precious metals backing the United States currency. Right now, there's nothing backing it except the full faith and credit of the United States government, which I have no confidence in. The country is 31 billion, 32, going on $32 billion or $1 trillion in debt. That's unsustainable. David Schweikert says we will be dollar for dollar just to service the debt on the debt load with the tax dollars. That's unsustainable. What about our military? How are you going to support that? How about our Social Security? How are you going to support that? How are you going to support Medicare? And how are you going to protect America from all the cyber attacks and the intelligence agencies that are necessary to protect the American people? These are things that need to be discussed. And this is why I'm here. And for that, I'm blessed. The best book I have right now selling on Amazon is the United Nations Agenda 21, The Big Lie. That's selling all over the world. That is why going to the United Nations with the Ball Doctrine, creating peace and prosperity in every nation, is historic. And today we are making history, Stephen, because this needs to happen now. And for what it is worth, because of the criminals in Washington, D.C., and the criminals in every state in this country, particularly the bar associations, we are put in a position where we must fight. Because as I've said before, if you're not fighting for your family, who are you working for? All of this is very timely and continues on the path of the campaign. I am very encouraged by events as they continue to happen, and I believe that we will see a change as it comes about. I also suggest and encourage people to think about running for office, to get into public office, whether it's local, state, federal, to change the system from within, including law enforcement and the justice system. We need a strong Justice Department that punishes crimes all the way to the top. And that means judges also. So as we consider these things, it is my opinion that as the world turns, as I see here on the graphics, we make progress every day. So with that, I will give you the floor here to tell us if anyone has come on the line or if anybody has responded to the Zoom.
Yeah, no, we're waiting for anybody to jump on the Zoom. We also have a call-in line, folks. We'd love for you to call in and hear from you. What your thoughts are. You can ask Dennis a question if you have any questions for him or myself. That number again is 702-482-8620. We'd love to hear from you. Nobody as of yet, but hopefully we'll get some viewers on in a minute.
Right. I'm going to turn the volume up a little bit here. Okay.
What I could do is create a group SMS chat on with all the campaign managers for next week, and then just send the Zoom link to that so that everybody knows.
Right.
That way it's all
right. And yeah, I agree. And next week, I hope to have Richard Sanders with us, because Richard is my vice presidential running mate, and he is a very intelligent man. He could be president. I'm very pleased to say that. His wife, Iris, could be a tremendous first lady, and I'm blessed to know them, having lived in Marion, Illinois. That's where we met, and proceeded from there in 2012 from Frederick, Maryland on my book tour.
Go ahead, Dennis. I'm just bringing up the whiteboard so I can list the number on the overlay, even on your video, so that everybody knows.
Okay, well, I was confused. I don't know what you're doing, but
I'm trying to get an overlay so people know the number when I'm not on screen. That's all. Go ahead.
Can people still see me?
They should be able to. Hold on. Oh, you know what? I have to do this later. We'll do it another time. I gotta figure out.
Yeah, let's.
The number on the screen the whole time is what I'm trying to do. The apps in Zoom kind of suck, so I have to look for an alternative.
Right. I appreciate that, and I know that technically, I think sometimes we're all challenged in our skill sets to get what it is that needs to be done. Took me two months here in Orlando to finally figure out how to proceed, and that's at a lot of time, but that's the way things happened here. And in spite of it all, I'm very encouraged by all the events that are still ongoing and will continue. And then possibly I'll be making a trip to Iowa soon, because Iowa is the gateway to the White House. And as we continue to grow in every state, we need a campaign manager in every state. The AOA is for we the people. And please consider this a gift from God that came through me at a time in American history that it needed to, particularly when the Clintons were in the White House, because they are no good. And there are reports that she may have been assassinated in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. And Donald Trump may have been there. I'm not sure. I can't confirm it, but I say that because
we can only hope, right? I mean, until we get either confirmation or debunking of that said claim. But I hope so, man. I really do, because we need accountability for what these bastards have done. We really do.
But she's caused so much harm to so many good people, particularly the mothers of our country. I never could believe the conflicts that this government has created for the families in America. And it's all power and control, greed. Hillary Clinton, I noticed today there was a clip where she was stumbling and fumbling on 9/11 for the ceremony that happened during 2016. And it shows her falling into a van that was parked to pick her up. And when she's falling, all of a sudden, all the people around her moved toward protecting any cameraman from being able to see more about what was going on. And it says to me, there is a problem. And supposedly she came out, I think it was a body double, later on in the day, all smiles and happy and waving to everybody. I don't believe that was her. And I think that she may have been the duly departed, to be candid. I would like to see more evidence. And this guy in Russia, Prigozhin, he's an interesting character. So is Kordorov. He's a Chechen leader, supposedly in Putin's hip pocket. But Prigozhin was going after Putin. And I think in the book that I had ordered, and I still have it, I need to open it up. I haven't had time, but I opened it up, talking about Putin's reign of terror in Russia, how he conducts his business, and what it creates in Europe. Let me say this, I'm a historian. I have studied the Helsinki Accords. I have studied Ronald Reagan's meetings with Mikhail Gorbachev, who recently passed away. Those accords were meant to bring plenty, sustainability and plenty to the Soviet Union. Reagan didn't go in there with the attitude of destroying the Soviet Union. the Soviet Union collapsed on its own weight because it ran out of the ability to function as a government, particularly regarding money, finances. But if you notice, after the collapse of the Soviet Union and the restoration of the Republic of Russia, you start getting businesses coming into Russia wanting to do business, and the whole situation changes where people are making money. It appears that the United States infused a tremendous amount of money into that nation. As at one time I saw where the shelves at the groceries in Russia were empty. They were resupplied. Also, the ability for the Russian military to use nuclear weapons was somewhat neutralized by an agreement with us. But all that changed when Yeltsin, who was appointed the president of the new Russia, gives his position to Vladimir Putin, excuse me. And now Russia is threatening nuclear war with the United States. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's very concerning for sure. I mean, definitely. I also don't think that we should be pushing as much as we're pushing. I mean, we're kind of provoking it ourselves. I mean, in our own part, from just what we're doing, continuing to push it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense that we would continue to keep pushing this towards this direction, and them the same, of course, obviously. But I mean, at some point we have to just decide, do we want to all be annihilated in a nuclear war and have no humanity exist, or do we want to figure out solutions to our problems that do not include nuclear annihilation?
Well, you've got a point there. I mean, I don't know if you're aware of it, but North Korea just got a submarine that is equipped with nuclear tip missiles and cruise missiles, as well as tactical ballistic missiles.
Yeah, see, I'm more concerned about those kind of countries with that ability than I am because I mean, Russia's had it forever. Obviously, nothing has come to blows as of yet. Hopefully, crossing my fingers here, but I consider these other countries, like you said, North Korea, that has these abilities or may have these abilities in the soon near to be future. Those are we don't know if they're gonna. All it would take is one madman to push the button.
And the other thing that's concerning to me personally is the number of these weapons launched at the same time. I mean, the defenses to take them out are good, but could they miss and allow the weapon to reach its target? And if it does, if it has the megaton power, it could destroy everything. They're saying right now that the Satan II rocket in the Russian military would completely wipe out the United Kingdom, England, if it were launched. Just one Satan II rocket. And so that to me is very concerning. I think Ukraine has a right to exist. I don't think it should be under the thumb of Putin. I think Putin's a madman. He's a monster. He has killed children. I think he needs to be taken out, to be candid. He has provided no support for his own country to get the Helsinki Accords in agreement to bring economic growth and prosperity back to Russia. My opinion, he should withdraw all of his troops out of Ukraine, let the nations be independent, let them grow economically, let them create institutions of democratic support, and allow people to run for office in those countries, to be candidates, and begin the process of economic support. As I said before, it doesn't matter what nation you're on. If you cannot support a family on minimum wages, Minimum wages were not designed to support families. Minimum wages were designed to provide support for individuals working in a business, but not to raise a family. Family requires a whole lot more. And as a result, if without that, people are not they're not living right here. Our system is not right. You need to have a living wage. To me, a living wage could be 30, 40, 50 an hour. The taxes, no income tax. Providing, that would provide one person could work while taking care of their family. If they both decide to work, then that's their decision. But when you're forced to work, that's slavery. And that's where we are. A lot of people are in slavery, trying to raise a family. And the divorces are not coming down. They're increasing. And children are being hurt because in many cases, there's no cooperation between the couple to support their family. And as a result, it fails. And it's unfortunate. We don't seem to see anybody talking about this but me. And that's tragic. And so, folks, wake up. We're in trouble. We need to do something about this now. We have to. Think about your kids and the kids you may have lost, what they're going through, what we're going through as a society. That's why I'm here. Ball for All 2024. If you're not fighting for your family, who are you working for? Think first what our country has become, act and do what must be done. Run for political office, but run for the family unit in the United States. Work in the best interest of children, parents, and grandparents. Make that the staple of our culture once again. And make that an important priority in our lives. If you're gay, if you're LGBTQ, if you're trans, all of that, that's between you and God. We believe in the traditional family structure that we believe God created. Moms, dads, and kids. That's our belief. And we're not going to go off it. And we're not going to debate it. God created, I didn't, you didn't, and we didn't even create ourselves.
I want to
So
make
what's the issue?
a good point that I think is relevant that everybody needs to know. Like, the only thing we all really need to agree on is that we all want to be free. And that's the only thing we have to agree on. We don't have to agree on all this other stuff. The only thing we really got to agree on is if we want to be free or enslaved. And if we all want to be free, then we all need to step up and fight this fight and do what we got to do. Run for office, speak out, do a podcast, whatever. The only thing we all have to agree on is that we want to be free, and that is it.
Well, you have a good point there. It's a lot of what has happened and been allowed since the end of World War II. I'm 72 years of age as of the 27th of August. I've been in this fight for several years. It started for me in 2005. Actually, 1994, my father had died. And for 12 years, I cared for my mother prior to her death in 2006. But I'm still fighting. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, how many years is that? 30? This is 23, and that was 94. That's 30 years.
Yeah,
I'm still fighting. Yeah, it's crazy. But this is the government we have allowed to use, abuse, and misuse the American people to profit from and destroy our family structure as it was not intended to be destroyed. It was intended to survive and thrive. And our World War II veterans did a good job in building the country. Now this group of people want to destroy everything they built, which tells me it's very possible that the Nazi scientists who were brought to the United States after World War II had an agenda of their own to espionage and destroy America from within. Even though they were part of the rocket program, Werner von Braun. You had NASA, and of course, guess who? The United Nations. They were very integral because in 1945 and 46, when the United Nations was created, they created the charter that Eleanor Roosevelt helped create and write for human rights. But as a result of the manipulation of the nations by the powers that be, and I'm talking now the bankers, there's a character by the name of Klaus Schwab. I don't know if you know that name. The World Economic Forum.
But yeah, that POS, Klaus Schwab. Here, I have to do my little impression of this asshole. Be happy. Yeah, fuck you, Klaus Schwab. Excuse my language, but I think it needs.
Well, yeah. I mean, this guy is a character, and he's crazy to think that he's going to put
a freaking Nazi, for fuck's sake.
I hear you, buddy. I mean, everything I've seen on him is slanted towards power and control of the masses in a one world government, and he's the Antichrist.
one of many in this day and age, for sure. I mean, I would put Bill Gates and Anthony Fauci right up there with him on that note, to be honest.
Oh, I'm sure Fauci would be one of his henchmen, like Heinrich Himmler.
Right.
Himmler.
No doubt.
You know, Himmler, he created the death camps. He exterminated 6 million Jews. And it's gross. It's gross what he did. And then, you know, you've got people like Dr. Mengele, who experimented on children, and especially twins. He was very interested in that, and he would put tests through them and see their reactions and all of this. And he's another Nazi. And yeah, you know, and it's just it's crazy. I think many people in the United States who have done so much harm should go to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, be arrested, and be put on barges down there waiting for trials, and do the things that are necessary to clean up America and get it right again. And talk to the people. We need major changes in the tax structure and getting our nation back to where it's profitable for the people, and move it forward. Electric vehicles are unperfected. I would like to see thermodynamics with solar power and work generation through the wheels through generators. Wouldn't that solve a lot of problems? The cost of fuel would go away. The cost of the grid would be going away. And how about if you can make your home independent? In other words, you'd have solar panels on your home. Down here in Florida, there is a program that if you own a home, they have to give you solar panels to equip your home. So that, I think, should be a national program.
But they have something where, like, you get your. It's funny because what happens here in Nevada is what we have is a program where you get solar panels, you get some of your energy from the solar panels to your home. But what we end up doing is selling it back to Nevada Power, believe it or not. So it's like kind of okay. So how is that making us self-sufficient if we're just selling it back to Nevada Power? It doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway,
no, it doesn't. I mean,
if kind of dynamic that's going on out here with the programs that we have as far as solar power goes, which is stupid, but whatever.
You bet. In Arizona, they have the nuclear power plant down there.
We should be able to do it completely off the grid. That's kind of the point, I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, I hear you. there's opportunities to do things. It's a matter of our society having the political will to see that these things get done and the people to do it. That's why I'm saying everyone should run for office who believes that the family is number one, family first, and move it forward, because if you're not fighting for your family, who are you working for? And it comes down to power and control, love of money, our forces that have caused so much harm to so many American people. Of course, the border situation down there on the southern border and other nations' borders. Muslims right now in Europe are creating a tremendous problem for those governments and putting at risk the citizens, especially their children, from behaviors that are very dysfunctional within society and culture, to the extent where laws are being broken, crimes are being committed, and yet you talk about culture clashes. These people, in some cases, don't think they're doing anything wrong to harm other people. And that's crazy. And so respect of human rights is number one, and being able to enforce the human rights is number one as well.
Absolutely, 100%. That should be the number one for sure. That, and then everything that goes with our inalienable rights as far as constitutional law goes too.
Exactly. All right. Well, listen. How much more time do we have today?
Well, we are about 42 minutes in. We got about, give or take, 18 minutes before we're on the hour.
Maybe 10 more minutes, something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Has there been anybody respond to any of the phone numbers?
Not as yet, but I think if we put it out there like in advance, like days in advance, or maybe even a week, that we're going to be having a call in line,
yes,
and this might help to help get people on board, be able to call in.
Right. I think that's where we need to go now with this, and keep moving with it.
Also start doing little promos as well, because that'll also get traction for the shows too. I've noticed that it makes a big difference.
Well, good. Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense, and this is a media event, so in terms of getting people on board here, that's all part of it. I want to say from last week's show, I'm aware that over 263 people reviewed it. In other words, they listened to it.
Nice. That's good. Awesome.
Yeah,
it's huge.
Right. And that was with Twitter, Rumble, Facebook, and the rest. I guess there's about 6 different platforms you've got it on.
Yeah, correct.
So that's good. And in terms of the financial support for the campaign, that's been waning, but praise God, we are still in the game and we are moving forward. And that's what's important here, regardless of whether people donate to this campaign or not. The issues are too important to be ignored, and we must bring it to the attention of our people, because this is a campaign for we the people. The AOA, ANC, Independent Party for we the people. That is what this is about. And this is why I have been engaged in the process for several years with my writings, with my books, and taking it now to the United Nations and bringing about the media coverage that is so vital important, that the people understand there are solutions to these problems, and they're in your pocket if you will pick up the books and read them. I have 8 more coming, and I'm very happy about that. And after the 19th, I will be probably back where I can continue to do that work to finish those books out. And then they will be available Richard Sanders is the gentleman who has been very instrumental in the website at aoa-anc.org. He is the one who does the edits. He's the one who does the placements. So he will have some new material to put on the website. And then with regard to getting our party on the ballot for 2024, getting the signatures that we need, this is why we're going to have this meeting next Tuesday here on the Campaign for America.
Get it on there. How many do we need total to get it on there nationwide? You know?
Each state is different. Some states don't require any signatures. Others require tremendous signatures. California and Texas, particularly, are very heavy signature states. I blame some of the legislators for what they have done here to keep people out of the political process, but they're not going to keep the AOA out because we have the right message.
Yep.
And people recognize this as they get to know us better. Remember too.
But it doesn't matter because we're moving forward. Round them up, let's go. Round them up, let's go. There we go.
That's cool. I was going to say that, I mean, some of the people in our culture, in terms of advocations or advocates for whatever cause it is that they're into, they've shown their true selves to me. And some of it's very good and some of it's very bad. Okay. So I think you understand that quite well yourself.
Oh, yeah. But a lot of bad actors that have alternate agendas and these, and I know firsthand from my own experience.
Right. And there is a group down here in Florida called Moms for Liberty. They're out of Melbourne, Florida. They're dealing with the school boards. And there are two ladies that used to be on the city council, I believe, in Melbourne. And they were, I think they resigned because they wanted to get things organized better in all 50 states for the school boards and for the children. They were looking to get accountability back in the school boards because the parents have been demanding it. And so they've been assisting the parents to create elections and, I guess, raise complaints, file complaints with the school boards, run for school board, win elections, and then change in the school boards the problems that the school boards have created for the parents with their children. Now, this is in addition to all these school shootings and the problem with gun control. The AOA is pro-gun. We're not going to take your guns. We believe that the people have a right to protect their property and themselves from those who would want to I guess the word is to retire them, as well as to profit from them. When I say retire, I'm talking about murdering them.
Did you hear about the that one? I think it was mayor or somebody in a position of power. I think it was in New Mexico, or I believe it was, about the gun thing, and she was talking about, oh, we're going to ban all guns because we don't have the manpower to stop the criminals that are using these guns to do crimes. Did you hear that? Oh God.
No.
Wow.
But nothing surprises me when it comes to this subject. There was a video that I saw today where it appeared that either the sheriff's deputies, all in full gear now, these police or sheriffs have got all this equipment on them, going into a home looking to confiscate the homeowner's guns. That in some areas is going on.
Oh yeah, absolutely it is.
And see, we're not for that.
Or not in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. The first two amendments cannot be infringed, people. We must hold
Exactly.
one of the most
Right.
we have.
And I believe in Texas, constitutional carry is legal. You don't have to have a card to have a gun on your holster, in your holster.
Carry on.
I'm not sure. I think concealed carry, I don't know if they have that there as far as having to go through the process. Illinois is very bad with this. I mean, they make it very tough for people to be able to carry guns and have them in their homes. They use these red flag laws to say if you're crazy, you can't own a gun. Not to say that people who are mentally ill or disturbed should not own guns. I believe they should not. But it just seems like they're loose with it.
And you're mincing their words to push their narrative and their agenda is what it's coming down to, folks. They're using that as the catch-all to get what they want, which is to remove our rights. And what he's getting at is they're using false freaking reasons to try and take our weapons, when of course there's legitimate reasons why certain individuals should not have guns. For example, a crazy person definitely should not be having a gun because that's a risk. However, when politicians use red flag laws to and push a narrative to say, oh, we're doing it because of this, this, and this, when in reality they're doing it for other alternative agendas, that's when it's a problem, folks.
Exactly.
Because you can take away all the guns from all the law-abiding citizens, but it's not going to take away the guns from all the people that are getting it on the black market. They're going to still get their guns, and they don't care about the law, so they're not going to think, oh, well, this is illegal, so I shouldn't do this. No, they're going to do what they're going to do anyway. By definition, they're criminals. They don't follow the law. Hello. And then if we take away all our law-abiding citizens' guns, we're going to be screwed.
Yeah, that's true, and you have a good point there. Today we were going to have some people on here that wanted to talk about ball care, healthcare that people can support. Now, yesterday, I'm here in Florida. I went to the emergency room. Why? Because I have Medicaid insurance. I have lipedema and scoliosis. In order for me to get support for my lipedema, I had to go to the hospital and have them check me out and also look at my wound. I have an ulcer on my left leg that has to be treated regularly. It's a serious matter. If I don't care for it properly, I could lose my leg. And of course, clotting can occur too, and that can kill you. So as a consequence, I am a very busy person in that respect. But the insurance company who I have, they told me that if I went to the ER, I could get covered for the medical supplies, which is what they've done. They've covered me. And then for my medications that I take, they can cover me with those too on a vacation override. But it has to go through a certain protocol process in order for that to occur. The good news for me is I'm covered even if I'm not in the state of Illinois while I campaign for the presidency. And this is all part of what we need to do now in terms of healthcare. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. The government is the payer. The doctor is in control, not the accountants or the insurance adjusters. Because in many cases, people are 80 and 90 years old. They won't get support for that because they're not in, the doctors is not in control. The insurance companies are. These premiums that people pay every month.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Not to mention the kickbacks that they're getting as well, which is complete conflict of interest and is not right at all, because what you have is incentivized motivations for providing healthcare. And
we have people in our party who have cancer. they have to have expensive blood thinners costing at least $600 a month.
Oh my God,
They can't afford it.
have gone up like freaking 50-fold in the last month. Man, we can't even afford the blood thinners that my mom's on right now because of it.
Exactly. So, Ball Care takes care of that. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor, and Ball Care will pay for everything. But how does the government function with that expense? Well, guess what? The government right now takes in every month about $1.5 trillion, of which they run the budget. But unfortunately, a lot of that expense goes to the Federal Reserve in terms of interest on borrowed debt. That is the problem. And the fact that President Kennedy's executive order has not been fulfilled but ignored by every president since him says that our government is a bunch of thugs. And we are dealing with that kind of a situation.
Like mobsters is what they're acting like, which makes them thugs by definition.
You bet. And as a consequence, the people suffer. And this is why the AOA is here to change that and to bring about a seismic change in American society and the world. Because the Ball Doctrine, creating peace and prosperity in every nation, talks about creating a middle class in every country for its children, its parents, and its grandparents, so that they can survive and thrive. Instead of swimming for sponges in the Philippines or making bricks in Pakistan to support their family. I saw a child in Egypt, which is a Muslim country, being used like a mule to take large baskets of whatever was in them. And he was only maybe 5 or 6 years old. And it was ridiculous to see what he was having to do. This is the kind of culture and world we're living in. This must change. It will change. And I believe this is what God wants us to do. Praise God.
Praise God, I agree. We have to do this. I mean, if we don't stand up and fight and become active participants in the change we want to see,
Oh, we must. There is no turning back.
Start running for leadership positions and start calling shit out, then we're not going to have any future generations to look forward to, folks. There's not going to be any because they're trying to wipe us freaking out. Hello? So we all have to stand up and do our part, whether that be media, podcasting, social media, calling shit out, or sharing a post, or running for office, or writing a letter, or a number of other things that we can all do. It's just simple stuff. A lot of people might think, well, okay, well, there's nothing I can do about it, so I might as well go along to get along. No, that's not the attitude we need to have. That's how we got in the place we're at right now, the apathy. We need to take a step back and start doing something to say, hey, we're not okay with this. We do not consent. We do not comply. And you, the people that are supposed to be governing us and be elected by us, the people, are not doing your job. Therefore, you're out.
You say it so well, Stephen. I like that type of talk. It's very good.
I mean, I figure if I have an ability to inspire and motivate people, I have an obligation to damn well do so. And if I'm not, then I'm no better than those doing what they're doing to commit these crimes and cover it up. So.
Yeah, I was thinking about Joe Rogan. He's a very well-known broadcaster. I did proceed to contact his office to have me on his show. I introduced myself to Dennis Prager's show as a candidate, and I was told I have a gift. So I'm incrementally making my way into the mainstream, incrementally. Despite all of the delays or obstruction because of whatever. But the good news is we are moving forward. I'm going to ask you this. How soon do you think you can get today's show ready to be seen?
I can get it up as soon as possible. Last week I was busy. I was trying to put together that Hilligus case timeline, so that's why I was a little delayed in last week's episode. But I can get
right.
it up.
That would be very good if we can get this done ASAP. Edit that part, those parts where it needs to be edited, so it's smooth. I would really like that. I think we've had a decent amount of time today to cover a lot of ground, and I'm looking forward for next time to follow through and follow up on today's show. Next show will be episode 40, the big 40.
And we'll be having all the state campaign managers. That's part of Genesis campaign,
right
on the line with
that's
us.
it.
What we're doing going
there you
forward,
go
campaign, et cetera.
that's it right.
So I wouldn't miss it.
Yeah, and that's why I will, if you can get me the show ASAP, then I can get it out to everybody and proceed to put it on Facebook. It'll be on Twitter. It'll be on Rumble. Like I said, we had almost 300 views last week. That was episode 38. So we're making progress. History is being kind to us right now.
Yes, it definitely is, for sure. And we're only going to keep pushing forward and keep growing more and more day by day. And as long as we keep pushing forward and doing the work, I don't see any reason why our traction should be lost. In fact, it's up to us to make that traction happen. And that's why myself and people like Dennis are doing what we're doing. You might want to argue, like, I'm going to make a point you were talking about last week, and you talked about how some people are like, well, writing candidates never won before, it's never going to happen, yada, yada, yada. Well, I say to you, how do you know? I mean, because that doesn't mean we shouldn't still do the work. Because if we don't do, by having that attitude, then we are stopping ourselves from even starting the race and reaching the finish line, because we've already given up.
No. I'm encouraged. If I wasn't encouraged, I wouldn't say it. No. I'm encouraged. I've been in this
to all
long time.
That it would make that claim that you had mentioned last week about,
right, and that's what.
That's bullshit. We got to do the work, because we don't know if we're going to win, because you very well might, So that's to all the naysayers that would make that argument. That's what I have to say to them on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's providing us a platform and an opportunity to advance, not only for ourselves, but for the whole country, for the people. I see us changing the world. You've got the world globe here. You've got the graphics of the world. I see the world.
Rainbow. There's some Frank Sinatra for you folks.
I think it's perfect. I mean, the kingdom of God is at hand. That's the way I see this. And this is why I have been led. I sent 3 copies of the Ball Doctrine to the La Jolla Presbyterian Church last week. It got there last Thursday to one of the senior pastors and two others. The other 2 went to Malawi with the senior pastor of the church. His name is Paul Cunningham. But the gentleman I spoke with was Scott Mitchell. He's an associate pastor, but very good person. And he had a real good communication with people while the Pastor Cunningham was on vacation when he returned. And then I also had a chance to talk to their communications department, as well as the secretary that went with Pastor Paul to Malawi. And that was really good, because this book is going to the United Nations next month. I have my ticket ready and everything's ready to go. It's just October 25th. Right now, the UN is in General Assembly. They're in session. They will be in session till around the 21st of October. So you can't do anything right now, but that's all right. I'm a very busy man on so many different fronts.
At the very least.
It is. We're building a party for America, and we're building a doctrine for on 8 continents. I have 8 political parties I have created for the ball doctrine, creating peace and prosperity in every nation. And the crux of it is to build a middle class in every nation. Right now, the Biden administration is doing very little to build the middle class in America. As a result, we have too many homeless.
Nothing. In my opinion, they're doing absolutely nothing. If there was a way to say that they were doing, negative in that regard, like doing the opposite, like if you were to have a negative bank balance, I'd go so far as to say they're doing exactly that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't hear anything about building businesses. All we hear about are vaccines. The next vaccine, the next.
The last couple of years and how that's all affected us adversely. I don't think I trust any government official anymore about anything in that regard, let alone any other regard.
Oh, precisely. And so my take is don't take the vaccine. And if they demand you take the vaccine, then you need to object and you need to go through the legal process.
Right.
To protect your rights.
And on that note, here's a very good reason why you should do this, folks. I know you think, well, I may lose my job, I won't have any income, but if you don't stand and say, no, I refuse, they cannot legally fire you by law. They're not allowed to do that. But because they did, and now I want to make a point, this recently had just been announced a couple of days ago in New York. A lot of the teachers that had been fired for refusing to take the jab just got, the court came down, or I think it was one of the Supreme Courts, came down and said they have to all be paid retroactively from when they got fired and how to get their jobs back. They have to get their jobs back.
That's good.
And I knew that was going to happen because there was no laws saying that these companies can do that and force people to get mandated to get a shot to be able to keep their job. That goes against everything that the law actually says. And this right here, this recent development is proof of that, folks. Hold the line, remain steadfast, stick to your morals, stick to your integrity. Do not comply. Do not back down. Hold the line.
Exactly. All right, buddy. Well, listen, let's get on with the day. I'll look for the program, and God bless America.
God bless America, folks. Thank you for joining us. And don't forget, we'll be doing an episode 40 next week with all the campaign managers. It's going to be a great show. We're going to have the call-in line, and we're also going to do a really nice promo for it as well. So don't miss that, folks. We will see you next time.
Amen.
Pero